You have told me that every Autogefühl episode is something like a little story, and today's story is about the Audi S3 Sedan on your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars. Autogefühl with Thomas. 300 horsepower below this hood here. It's not the very top version, that one would be the RS3. 367 horsepower, 2.5 liter engine, 5-cylinder. That review is also linked in the video description, you can watch that one later. So far today we'll focus on this one here, 2-liter engine, turbo petrol, 300 horsepower, but I can promise you that is more than enough power already. And this one here you can also get in the US, the RS3 unfortunately not, but this one here has really some other qualities. So everything about exterior, interior and the performance driving experience will be in this video. So put it to full HD, full screen and relax. We'll start with the exterior here, and as we see, not only have a S3 logo, also this huge Audi single frame grille, chrome contrast in the front, those twinkling eyes with sharp elements inside the headlights, and the S version he has a stronger bumper in the front with a contrast element in chrome style at the lower part and bigger air intakes as well. That is the front. When we move over to the side profile, what can we see? I think this car is sporty, yes, but also so elegant and contributes with those winter tires with 18-inch Spider style. I think they're really perfectly fitting to the car. It's a little bit old school style. It was maybe the time when I was really beginning to be interested in cars. That's maybe why it's appealing to me that way. But put me those comments there below what you think about those alloys in combination to that car. The S3 Sedan comes with 18-inch from standard equipment, just a different style in the summer tires, and there's also 19-inch available. And then we have contrasting mirror caps here in the chrome, together with the chrome frame, very beautiful. And then just look at that side profile. Isn't it some kind of elegant perfection, especially now in this very hard sunlight? You know, it's a simple car layout, as we just know it from a classic style, but so beautiful, or what do you think? The S version has this very strong bumper here also at the side, that is special, and a small rear wing. And that's again the scheme, that it's not too exaggerated. And finally the rear with those 4 exhaust pipes, and they have a really good sound. And the diffuser at the lower part, again in the contrast scheme to the red color. This one here, by the way, is the optional Misano red color, so costs a little bit extra, but it's a very beautiful color. And well, there were little red cars on the road. But Audi has a really strong red color. They offer 2 choices, brilliant red and Misano red. This one here is a little bit spectacular, even more. S3 logo we got here as well, and very sharp headlights. Taillights. I always messed it up somehow. I always have headlights in my head. Makes sense, doesn't it? Anyway, taillights very sharp, going all the way around here. And overall, I have to say, especially in Europe, people tend to like the hatch versions more, but I really prefer sedan, even if it's not that handy with the trunk that's separated and just a tiny hole to put stuff in there. But so much style with this sedan. What do you think? You see the key to get inside. It's a nice fob. Also, the closing button is a little bit higher, see it right here, than the opening button. It helps you to control opening and closing process very well. And we are taking a look at the interior, which is the real highlight. See matte aluminum inlays on the inside of the doors, S3 entry covers. Then those here are the S sports seats. Usually the S3 comes with normal sports seats. They have these accentuated shoulder sides here, the S sport seats. The other ones are a little bit slimmer, you realize, than when you see them. In Germany, for example, the S sports have a mix between cloth on the inside and real genuine leather on the outside. In the US, you only get genuine leather for normal sport seat, and here the S sport seat, they have those comb structure at both of the sides, and again also only genuine leather. That's one flaw of this car. You cannot get it without genuine leather, and therefore I wouldn't buy the car. So let's move on to the steering wheel. That one is really great from the form. Has a flattened end, has the right size, and white contrast stitches on the inside. Beautiful work with the steering wheel. Also the instruments, they have this white background, or let's say white background of the numbers, and then grey overall background. I think it's a very nice thing, and they have kept that one exclusive for the S and RS models. Also see the logo in the left part here. And even the vents are a highlight with the Audi here. Look at those here, because the side one here on the side, those ones you need to close, open, and listen to the clicking sound even here. Click, clack. Really nicely designed. And the inside you can also control, and then to make it, a little bit diffuse, put it in. To make it more directing to one point, pull it. And then, for example, you can direct it to your hands on the steering wheel, because there's no heated steering wheel available. Sitting here in the Audi S3 Sedan, it's a perfect sports position, but it's not too sporty that it's that uncomfortable that, like in other GT cars or real sports cars. And therefore, I also in general prefer these kinds of cars compared to true sports cars. Of course, true sports car, maybe a little more emotional, or more in design. But these ones here, you can very well drive just every day without any back pain. And so it's still a good position. However, those ones, as I said, the S Sports, just remain with the normal ones. They offer even a little bit more comfort. Not that much side support, but well, they offer you enough side support already, let's take it that way. Then taking the cockpit as a whole, you see there are not too much elements, and this is a really sporty, elegant style. Audi is really good with his interiors. It's not the most emotional interior if you compare it, for example, to Italian sports cars, but this, shy elegance, I'd call it. This is what a lot of people like, and the build quality is just superb, I can tell you. Also aluminum panels you can see at the lower part here, and also in the middle console. We'll soon go into the details how that one is arranged. When we start the car, we have a real orchestra. Look at the touchscreen coming out, and also at the instruments, where the arrows going all the way to the right and back again. Parallel, you see, left side the arrows, and the right side the screen. This is a good solution. The all-new A4 does not have that. There the screen is always attached, and here it's a very clean solution. And with this button here on the dashboard, I can always also close it again. This is a really nice solution, and not sure why they haven't kept that one for the A4. Here again, looked at the illuminated instruments, digital speedometer in the central part, and you can also show the consumption right there. And in the middle part, which is also interesting, is that we got the climate unit separated. And I really like that, because, well, controlling that, you do that quite often and maybe don't want to put your fingers on the touchscreen. And here again, Nice solution with blue and red to symbolize, and the clicking sounds, again, best in the industry. As I've told you quite often, this is all done in the Audi sound laboratory, that they have really, the best there. Also, this is real metal around the buttons, another detail. That's also why you pay so much money for Audi. Below there, beverage holders. You put your smartphone in here, for example, or just leave it out as a normal beverage holder. The right one would be an ashtray, Audi ashtray, but the ashtray is beautiful. But what's in there, maybe not now, but what would be in there is not beautiful. Center console with the shifting lever, manual 6-speed, and this is also really awesome shifting lever, and also the sound it creates. They have really thought about every detail here. And this is really my favorite sound in the car. Some say maybe laugh about that when I do that, but this is what the Audis are all about. You pay really hell lot of money, but then get this perfection in the detail. And those are the shortcuts to the infotainment system that you get to the GPS, phone, media or radio. And here with those buttons you can also control shortcuts. They are shown in the touch screen. Sorry, it's not the touch screen. They are shown in the screen, the non-touch screen. And just clicking OK, you just press this one down. And that one here, you can also command some letters into the screen. I can show you that right now. When I, for example, put a B in the GPS, see it right here. B. Drawing it with my hand, and then I can go for Berlin. It says already, but okay, on E. So it's R. German voice. R. Now that's Berlin, and then I can go to that and also navigate my way to Berlin. Rest of the screen I can show you the GPS map, how that one looks like. It's a simple visualization, but it's very clear. It has a great resolution, and also the GPS system. It works really the way it should work. Recently we've tested, for example, the smart GPS. I was always lagging behind, and you get confused right here with the GPS system. Really nice thing. By the way, you recently read that all the German premium manufacturers, they are now working together because they have bought a company that is doing maps. Then let's go to media. There you can put your Bluetooth player from the phone. I'm streaming the iPhone there. But, and that's also interesting, you can also see where it is. Here it's telephone for using the phone or address book. Audi Connect, those are some internet services, like you can see how the weather is, and there you can change the audio setup. And car, that was what I'm talking about. There you can change the different driving modes. I will more tell you in the driving review about that one, how this one differs. If you go to individual, you can see what are really what is really changed, because here set individual, and then you can see there's some German lesson now: Motor, engine, Dämpferregelung, suspension, Lenkung, steering, motor sound. Well, motor sound, that is self-explanatory. So some German lessons today, because I didn't switch the language of the GPS for today. Also special service today then for our German viewers. So what I was wondering about is there's, for example, also jukebox program here with some music, and I can go there. And funny thing was here, there's also an Audi image film on that one. You can watch it, but as soon as you start the engine and then roll, then it stops. You know, you can't watch it while driving the Audi image movie. Okay, muting that one. That's about the infotainment system. More storage space at the inside of the door. It's very slim. And the standard glove box right here. And below the armrest, you see this Audi interface. It's always a hassle with those cables, but finally there's also one direct USB port. You see it here on the left lower side. So one direct USB port available, and then with the other one you can either also use USB, also attach different like iPhone 4, iPhone 5 cable endings for that one. Also, the rear compartment has this very nice sporty design. I mean, I'm not talking about the surface now, but general how it is designed, the layout, and that one looks like a real sport seats also in the rear compartment. And when I'm sitting here, I got, well, quite okay with a knee space. I'm 1.86 meters in height, and well, there could be more space, of course, but I mean, we're in a compact segment here, and some of the hatch versions, they are, not that long. I'd say this one here offers a little bit more space, so it's quite reasonable. Well, sedan roofline folds down, of course, and my head is still fitting in there from the height. When I'm leaning back, it tends to touch the ceiling, but it's still okay. So I perfectly fit here in the rear as an adult, but of course there are more comfortable versions. But for the compact size segments, I think good offering of space here in the rear. And finally, the trunk. Of course, you don't have the best access when it's not a hatch but a sedan, but reasonable space to go to the airport for some people. That's quite okay. Some nets as a handy solution, but I've told you earlier, disadvantage of the nets is that the wheels of the trolleys, they can be caught in the net then. And you can also flip those seats just from the rear compartment, and then, well, you have some step to the trunk, but that makes your sedan even a little bit more flexible. 1/3, 2/3 split. And talking about that engine here, hydraulic dampers, as we know from Audi, of course. Nice engine layout with the cover here. Other than that, you don't really see that much from this 2-liter TFSI with 300 horsepower. We also know that one here from the Golf R, and distributed on all of the 4 wheels with the quattro all-wheel drive. Really enough power. I mean, yes, the other one in the RS3, that 1-cylinder extra we got, the engine is awesome, no question. But as just for the power, this one is really way enough. 5 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers or 0 to 60 miles an hour. And now I welcome you to the driving part of our review. We'll have it split again between city driving, countryside and motorway. So we experience all of the different aspects of the car, no matter if it's just your everyday driving, commuting to work, really pushing your throttle, and also some nice handling, I can promise you. So that is also one of the main aspects of the car. I can really use it for everything I have just mentioned. First of all, taking me as an example, entering out the basement garage, there's absolutely no problem because it's still a compact size, not too big on either side. I don't have to be afraid to scratch here and there, and you're really relaxed also when standing here now in traffic. You don't feel like, I'm touching the next car here or the next car there, because especially when you're driving in Europe and being in the cities, it's sometimes really narrow, and if you're driving a full-size SUV, then it can be a little bit annoying, and you drive the car, it's really comfortable, but at the same time it's uncomfortable to drive it because it's so huge and you have to be afraid to touch something. So that's the first point. Then you do feel that you're sitting lower in the S3 here, definitely. Do you feel a sitting difference, lower, higher, between S3 and RS3? No, I don't think so. But to the normal Audi A3, you definitely feel that you're sitting way lower on the road. That's definitely a fact. Well, it's still okay, because the suspension, it is firmer. You already feel that right now when driving here inside the city. And then a lot of times, sports cars have the problem that they are too uncomfortable in everyday riding. And I often criticize that because, a lot of our guys here, you and me also like to drive sporty, definitely. But at what costs? That's always the question, because, there can be a perfect car for the racetrack, but most of the time, let's be serious, you drive it on normal roads and want to drive with your friends, to work and so on. And then you can't really use a very uncomfortable car, which is so rough in suspension. but the Audi suspensions are really superb. Same here again, it is stiffer as the normal one, yeah. You feel it when you're going over some bumps, maybe you realize it also now. But then again, I think it's still in a very, very good region. The RS3, however, which we can get in Europe, I wasn't that satisfied with the suspension there, because there it's even more set on racing, and even in the comfort mode, it was too stiff for everyday riding. So if you ask me, as for driving, also, you know, for normal purpose, not on the race track, which one shall I go for, S3 or RS3? I would definitely always say right now, go for the S3, because it's the better mix as for the suspension. As I've told you earlier in the interior driving review, those sports seats, the S sports seats we're having right now here, basically, yeah, you can very well sit on them, but they are also again a little bit stiffer than the normal sports seats, so I can there again only advise you again, stay with the normal sports seats, don't pay the extra money on seats that are less comfortable. Why should you? Okay, maybe they look better, but come on, think about when you're driving the car on long term, really doesn't make sense. Then the steering, one of the most favorite steering wheels, not only from a visual part, but also here as it behaves. Such a direct steering, and it is this progressive steering, means I don't need a wide angle to turn the steering wheel. I can keep both hands at the steering wheel all the time, and even in, you know, when I'm making a U-turn or something, it's hardly that you have to grab around the steering wheel to do something. And that is really good stuff, and especially in the Volkswagen, Seat and Audi and or Skoda, in the sports models, they really figured out that progressive steering. It's, to me, it is the best steering behavior of anything, because it does feel totally natural, although you have electronic support, and that I think you really have to figure out that this one really works. Slight nuance, because you have such a direct connection to the road, and that also accounts to this overall feeling in this car. More than most other cars, here in this car you have the feeling of total control. You know, we have driven a lot of bigger sports cars which, you know, convey the feeling of huge power, but not necessarily of being in control, because, you know, tend to slide out with the rear or have too much power considering the car. But here, in the combination with the all-wheel drive, 2-liter turbo petrol engine, 300 horsepower, for the front axle that would be too much. You know, we've seen in the Seat Leon Cupra, for example, 290 horsepower, 280 at the front wheels. You can't really use that. You have to electronically reduce it. Here now with the all-wheel drive, the Quattro, and it's just the brand name, so I usually just call it all-wheel drive because they only want to mention it as it would be Quattro. Yeah, it's our strong brand. Same with Mercedes 4MATIC or BMW X-Drive. You can really get the power to the ground here, and that's also why this 0 to 100 acceleration in about 5 seconds is working. Shifting, got the 6-speed manual shifting version here now. There's also the S-Tronic available dual clutch transmission, which is really working very good. Totally flawless. I think I would go for it. It's relaxing in city driving, and also when you're driving sporty. Very good. But here, they have really this refinement in every kind of region of the car. Also when I'm shifting, you know, it feels so smooth when putting in the different gears. And even the sound when I'm shifting the gears, they paid attention even to that, and that is really, really awesome. Also it's worked very, very fast, and sometimes you have these sporty sounds when the gears click in. Really nicely done. So even when an automatic gearbox fan like I am, you'll still be very satisfied with this manual shifting version here. The 6th gear is, has a very long ratio, so when I'm in 6th gear, I just rather let the car roll, and that's kind of it. Now we are steadily approaching the motorway part, so we can hammer the throttle there and show you some of the acceleration, and also something of the sound. Let me here already once mention the Audi Drive Select, which does not play such an effect here when the manual drive car, because when you have the DSG, it's possible kind of to preload the car, and also the car is always staying 1 gear lower. Here I'm just doing that myself. I'm switching it to dynamic mode, and the steering, throttle input, suspension, sound, those 4 factors are altered then. However, it doesn't have such a big effect. If you compare, for example, a competitor, Mercedes AMG, A45 AMG, that one here, when you have between comfort and dynamic mode, you don't feel such a difference. In the AMG A-Class, however, you have a huge difference between comfort and the performance mode, really from very soft to quite stiff. That one is better than there at Mercedes, definitely. Here you don't have such a wide spread, and that's not too good, because you could very well argue that you have a more comfortable ride in the city and then going stiffer maybe when you want to do some racing in the countryside. However, due to the fact that the suspension here itself is really superb, it doesn't limit you, when driving, so it's still on a good, on a very high level, definitely. Showing you some acceleration now. Let's go to 3rd gear and do some 70 until 110 or something like that. Let's go now. And that's it. That was just 3rd gear. So really incredible power. And also a quite nice sound, you might have already heard. A little bit disappointing, I have no cruise control here, although this test vehicle is specced with a lot of stuff in more and is about above 50,000 bucks. I think a cruise control should be from standard equipment at that price. Nice turning indicator sound as well. So I'm in 4th gear now. Some of you want to see the RPMs when you're in at a certain speed. 100 kilometers an hour, 4th gear, 3,500 RPMs, and that's now put into 5th gear. 100 kilometers an hour, 5th gear, below 3,000, and then let's go to 6th gear, that's the final one. 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour, and just right above 2,000 RPM. So when you're in the high gear, you can also drive this car very calmly. It's also no problem. As for the sound installation, it's on a very high level, as we expect from Audi, as we're also used to from Audi. The A4 is definitely better, and there is still a big difference, yes, because they've paid more attention at their all-new A4 model there, especially to the sound installation. This one here is on a very good level, but not the best one we've tested. But speaking of, if we take other big and more expensive Audis, if you compare it to other brands, this one here is already on a very good level, definitely. And it's also amazing. Imagine I'm on 6th gear, and when I want to accelerate even further in the 6th gear, that is possible. Not so much happening in the 6th gear, of course, but as we have the turbo, there's still something happening where other cars maybe would do nothing anymore, something like that. And of course I can shift down at any point. Also from the riding comfort here on the suspension when going faster, still remained a total control over the car and the road. And that creates one of those feelings where you have a car and you say, I want to ride it again. I want to ride it every day, and I still have fun. Fun will also be when you, for example, changing lanes. We can do that also to see how fast it is working. Wow. Because it's not such a huge car, the controls are directly transported, and you have a very light feeling of the car because the car is obviously light, and you just not carrying unnecessary weight. And at the same time, some of you ask me, there's a difference between hatch and the sedan. Yeah, sedan is a little bit longer, and I believe you feel that when driving. Maybe the hatch could be a slightly more agile because of that, but this car is that agile that it's hard to add something above that. And you also know when you're driving a sedan, I know it sounds a little bit ridiculous maybe, but you feel more elegant when driving the car than driving the hatch. It's, something very subjective, but I can just tell how I feel, and that's just the case about that. Racing this Skoda Citigo in front of me? What do you think, guys? Nah, I won't do that. He'll have another turn. I'll turn left. He turns right. Or she, I don't know. Standing at the red traffic light, you again hear how silent the car is. And then, again the difference. Oh, decide to turn left now. I think we have to do some overtaking process quite soon. Because when you hear that sound, you really feel like overtaking. Drive select again. Let's go to the comfort mode. And steering wise, the steering is a little bit loose then. It's really soft, so if you're not that strong in the arms, it's very good. Also when you maybe searching for a parking lot, it's no problem to go forth, back, and turning left, turning right. Then you very well use the comfort mode. And when you're in the dynamic mode, you're more resistant on the steering wheel. So this is maybe when you're driving in the manual version, the biggest difference that you feel the steering wheel is different. If you have the DSG version, then you would see that it goes lower in the gears and higher in the RPMs when you're in a dynamic mode. You can also set each of those paragraphs individually with the individual mode. You can switch it, you can see it in the center screen here, but also on the big screen you can have some visualization then and adjust the car as you would like to. I also got the information which gear I should shift to. For example, it says here already I should go to the 6th gear because that's to reduce the consumption. Talking about fuel consumption, with this 2-liter TFSI, you should expect, you do drive sport with the car. Can't tell me that you won't, you will. And you should expect about 9-10 liters of fuel on 100 kilometers. That's a realistic value, definitely. With the DSG, you can also have this efficiency mode. Here it doesn't make too much sense. However, if you have DSG, efficiency mode means that the car can also use this sailing function that, car isn't in gear, staying in gear when you're rolling. It's out of gear and then it rolls further, so it's always a good choice to use the efficiency function just to let the car roll a little bit. And I can just stress the fact when you're going some left and right, wow, it's so much fun to drive the car. An interesting fact here, and you really feel it when you drive the car, not only when you look outside and inside, and that's also the reason why we cover every aspect of the car. This car can give you a reason not to go for a bigger car, even if you could afford it. So let's just imagine and say, oh, I have the budget for a 5, a 6 mid-size segment, even above maybe. But then you're really keen on sporty driving and you drive this one here and a bigger car. Then you will end up with that one here because it's just way more fun. Yes, of course, when you have, drive 2 hours of motorway every day, you really need a good, comfortable, long-term car. This one isn't bad for that, but the other ones in the bigger segments are, of course, better for that. But everything else, you really have more fun in those smaller cars. And especially if you're not, have a huge wide open road sceneries everywhere, you also feel a little bit better when driving a smaller car because you're just more flexible. However, as I've shown you in the interior review, you can also use it with 4 adults here. That is also no problem. I love that corner here. It's accelerating it. Due to the all-wheel drive, by the way, the car again stresses this very in-control feeling. Doesn't slide out in the rear. Of course, I have normal road traffic. I let the stability control in, and I would also pledge you to leave that in always when you're in normal city traffic, because it really doesn't make sense. It's when you turn off the EC and then slide out, and then you have opposing traffic and cause an accident. Why should you? And just to hoon a little bit around, do that hooning around maybe on an empty parking lot. Then you can also deactivate the ESC. And the same is also with Autogefühl. Sometimes we get some comments. I've been on so many racetracks all over the world, but still, I don't feel like I would need to do, a donut around every corner, because it's just too dangerous. And the main thing here about Autogefühl driving rules is always safety first. That's rule number one. And then everything else. And I think we also still have enough fun and performance, even if we don't come up with smoking wheels in every review. However, talking about smoking wheels, we are approaching our little handling parcours. Not an official one, but it shows us again how much agility this car really has. And so, as always, it's always paying off for you if you keep with the review for the whole time. Then you have every single aspect of the car, and also maybe one of the most fun parts that's coming soon. But before that, we have another sound check, and I'm putting the car to dynamic mode, that we use all of the sound that is available from that engine and that exhaust. And I'll turn on the rear windows, and we'll have some tunnel sound check. Yeah. Cool. Compact size car. And a price where, far from other huge sports cars. What do you think about the sound? Of course, it's always better to hear the sound from the outside. I think they really managed something to do there, because it fits to the exterior of the car. And the scheme is be sporty, be elegant, but don't show off too much. Don't be that, oh yeah, I'm sportiest driver ever, and I'm so cool, and waking everyone up in the middle of the night with my V12 sound. This one here is, sporty, but still down to earth at the same time, and I like that compromise. Now it gets agile. Second gear. Let's fly. Look at the steering wheel. Don't need long angles. Now again, safety first, not holding traffic, reducing speed. Another Audi. Nice sound. Maybe you hear a sound from the trunk. That's the suitcase flying around with the G-forces, so you can imagine what G-forces are applied here. And although we have those G-forces, the car remains so calm, so well to control. It's the perfect size for a steering wheel, perfect sporty steering wheel. Stay in second gear. No wheel spin at all, although the road is wet. It's one of the cars that gives you the most secure feeling even when you're driving fast. And I can promise you, if you compare this car here on the racetrack against some other brutal sports car, I think this one here will probably score the better lap time, because it is really precise. So enjoyable to ride it. Of Of course, if you compare it to the RS3, this 2.5 cylinder, 5-cylinder, 2.5 liters of displacement, that's the RS3. So one more cylinder and also more of displacement. Yeah, it is more fun to drive the RS3 engine-wise, but suspension-wise and handling-wise, and also the ratio from power to the whole vehicle setup, I think the S3 nailed it there, definitely. Therefore, this one here is probably one of the most fun sedans to ride overall. Let me conclude on the Audi S3 Sedan. It is definitely, as I've just said in our driving experience, one of the most fun sedans to ride, and it can be a reason not to go for a bigger car to have this handling here in the length of 4 meters and 45. Really awesome agility, and that's why a lot of people will go for this car here. And you don't have to be afraid not to go for the RS3 if you cannot get it. Besides the awesome agility and the very elegant exterior, the Audi S3 offers a really refined interior. It's one of the best interiors there is. As for the refinement, there may be some that, play around a little bit more, are more joyful. But you see, every knob is really perfect. And if you like perfect interiors, you'll definitely love that one here. Only flaw there is we just got genuine leather seats, especially in the sporty version of the car. I do expect that, for example, you get an option with let's say full Alcantara seats, for example, or Alcantara on the inside and leatherette on the outside. Unfortunately, Audi is not offering that with this model. So if you're ordering that model and think as I do, then tell your Audi dealer, because they have to get the reactions from the customers as well. Other than that, I can really recommend it, and also it's more comfortable as the RS3 for everyday riding. The RS3 is a little bit too stiff. This one here has a very good setup and a very good compromise between the sporty ride and still being very nice, very gentle also in the everyday riding. So overall, a very good mix for the car on this 4 meters 45 of the length. What do you think, guys, of this review and also of the Audi S3 Sedan? And tell me also your thoughts about S3, RS3 and also the base model. Last thing maybe about the prices. A base A3 is about 20,000 bucks. This one here, about 40,000, a little bit more. RS3 would be even 10,000 bucks more. So that's just for the pricing overview. This very vehicle with all of the extra specs, 54,000 bucks. So kind of at the price of a RS3. Of course, you don't need to have everything extra in here, which we've shown you. You can get rid of the S Sport seats. Maybe you're not taking the most expensive GPS system, then you'll be just fine with the price as well. So thanks again for watching. I hope you liked that Autogefühl episode, and I want to see you at our next episode.